everyone, it's Gina from orchidandopal.com and welcome to the ribbon bugle bead bracelet tutorial. You can see in my hand, this is the version we're going to make today. It all started with the Serene Lavender collection from Eureka Crystal Beads. This was the very first one I made, and this is just to show you an example of how you can use simply 11/0 seed beads if that's all you have around the bugles. And you can also change up the way that your stripes of seed beads look. I have another example here, which is using 11/0 seed beads and the size 15/0 check Charlottes, which are embellishing some of these edges, and you can see we have alternating stripes here. And then the other variation is to use some size 11 Miyuki Delica beads like I have here. So pretty much any type of seed bead will work. And if you just wanted to use one color, you can do that, or you can change up the stripes a little bit depending on the look that you want. I will have all the materials listed right down below the video as usual, as well as the specific quantities and everything that I'm using today. But in general, you'll need some size 6mm bugle beads, some 11/0 seed beads or delicas, and I'll be using some of these 15/0 Charlottes to embellish the edges. But like I said, you can either use size 15/0 seed beads that you already have if you don't have the Charlottes, or you can use size 11s and get more of the look of the first bracelet. I'll be using my go-to 6-pound Fireline with the black satin color, which is better because it doesn't rub off on your hands. A size 10 beading needle that I'll probably switch to a size 12 to do the Charlottes. And of course, your findings, I'll be using 2 wire guards, 2 jump rings, and a clasp. To get started, we're going to make a ladder stitch strip out of 6mm bugle beads. So that's all we're going to need to start out with. I'm going to clear everything else away. We'll be using about 9 to 10 yards of Fireline today, or beading thread, and you will have to add thread onto this step. So I'm going to be using about 10 feet of beading thread to get started, but you can use less if you're not as comfortable using such a large amount at once, and you can just add more thread on later. So go ahead and thread your size 10 needle, grab your bugle beads, and we can get started. All right, so I'm going to be making a 6-inch beaded portion for a 7-inch bracelet. That will allow for about 1 inch for my jump rings and my clasp and the wire guards. Just to give you an idea of the size that I'll be making, if you'd like to make your beaded portion longer or shorter, you can just do a shorter or longer strip of bugle beads. I find that you'll need loosely 3 times the length of a bugle bead strip as you want your finished beaded portion to be. So for a 6-inch beaded portion, I'm going to want at least 18 inches, if not a couple more, to give me enough to work with. So if you haven't ever done ladder stitch, we're going to do that today, but it's really easy. The first thing we want to do is pick up 2 of our bugle beads, and you can pull these down to your tail thread. I'm working up a sample of this because I already have the full strip done for the tutorial, so that's why I have such a short thread. And one tip I want to mention, when I did work with 10 feet of thread, I pulled my bugle beads down to about the center point, so I only had about 5 feet to work with on my right hand side and left a huge tail. And then what I did was I popped a needle on the long tail portion and just continued along with my ladder stitch in the other direction. So that's just one tip for you, since the ladder stitch portion may take 5 or 6 yards. All right, so once you have the 2 bugle beads on, you're going to take your needle and go back through the first one that you added only, and let those 2 bugle beads sit next to each other by pulling the thread. Coming out of the first bugle bead, we're going to go down through the second one. Going to go back up the first one just to reinforce this first portion, and then down through the second one again. And then we're going to add another bugle bead by picking one up and going down through the bugle bead that we are currently coming out of, and popping that one right next to it so it sits in line with the others. Coming down out of this middle one and going to go up through the bugle bead that we just added, holding those with my thumb and my forefinger and just pulling this tight. You really don't need to reinforce each of these beads you're adding at this point, because we're going to be passing through these beads several times along the way. And so it will tighten up as we go. So don't worry if your bugle beads are a little bit loose, but try to keep them as tight and in line as you can as you go. All right, let's do another one. We'll pick up a bugle, and this time we'll go up through the bugle bead that we are coming out of and pop that bead into place right next to the others, tightening that. And I'm going down through the bugle bead that we just added. So that's ladder stitch. Just start making a really long strip of bugle beads that you can weave into that ribbon shape. And you can always make some slight adjustments to the length of your bracelet as you get further into the project. So keep going with that ladder stitch, and we'll meet back when you have a long strip that looks something like this. All right, everyone, welcome back. So at this point, we're going to actually start embellishing our strip instead of creating that wavy pattern. We'll do that next. And I've tried doing this bracelet in all different ways, and this is my favorite way to do it, just going right in and starting to embellish, because it actually will help us in the next step. Now, if my bugle bead strip looks a little bit tighter than yours, that's because for this particular one, I was practicing and I actually went through the beads after each stitch, but I didn't with the red one. It was looser and it worked just fine. All right, so what we want to do, you'll have your needle and thread coming out one of these bugle beads on the end that you stopped at, and you want to follow your thread path just going up and down the bugle beads until you get to bugle bead number 5. So I'm going down the 4th one, and now I'm going back up, and I'll be coming out bugle bead number 5. I've also switched my needle, so I'm going to be using a size 12, which is a lot easier to get through the charlottes. So if you're using 15-0s or charlottes, I would definitely suggest going with a smaller needle if you're able to. And coming out of that 5th bugle, I'm going to pick up 3 of these little teeny babies and go down through bugle bead number 6 right next to it. And you can see that it popped those 3 charlottes right there. We're coming out of bugle bead number 6. I'm going to pick up 3 more of these little charlottes and go up bugle bead number 5. So these are matching on either side. We have 3 charlottes on this side and 3 charlottes on this side. Now just continue following your thread path down bugle 6 and then head up bugle number 7. Now add 3 more charlottes onto beads 7 and 8. So I'm going right down bead number 8 right next to where I was coming out. And now I'm picking up 3 more charlottes. And I'm going to go back up bugle 7 and make sure you're not getting your needle caught into the charlottes when you're coming up and out of those. You just want to come out of the bugle bead and back down number 8. So we've got 2 on this side and 2 on this side, and we're going to do 1 more going up through bead number 9, and we'll repeat the same thing, picking up 3 charlottes and going down bugle number 10, and then picking up 3 more, going back up bugle number 9, down bugle number 10, and now you have 3 clusters of charlottes on each side. Then what we want to do is we want to actually move down so that we have 7 plain bugles before we start another cluster with our charlottes. So weave up and down through the bugles until you get to your 8th one from the section with the charlottes. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to go down through this one. And that's where we're going to start our pattern again with our charlottes. So I'm picking up 3 charlottes, and I'll call that bead number 8. And then I'm going to go through bead number 9 right next to it to pop those 3 into place. And just like we did before, we want to do 3 clusters of these on either side. I picked up 3 more charlottes, and I'm going to go down bead number 8 again. And now those sides match. I'm going to go up through bead number 9 and down through bead number 10 in order to start this pattern again. So once again, picking up 3 charlottes and going right up through the next bugle, picking up 3 more charlottes, down through that one so that those match, following my thread path, back up bugle number 11 and down through number 12, and finishing off this last little section with the charlottes. So basically the pattern is going to repeat like this all the way down, and then you'll end with 4 unembellished bugle beads just like you have on this side. So the next step to this would be, again, counting 7 plain bugle beads after the last one you embellished, go through number 8 and start your pattern of adding the charlottes just like this and repeat. Once you have completed that pattern all the way down your bracelet, and again, you may need to add more thread along the way, then we will meet back and continue on with the next step. All right, everyone, now you can see that the strip is done with that pattern of embellishing with the charlottes. I've got 4 plain bugles on this end and 4 plain bugles on this end. And we're gonna start by putting on our wire guard to the end that we're gonna start working with. So I'm going to add that on by going through one side and pulling that down to the bugle beads, and then take the needle and go through the other side and go through the 3rd bugle bead that you get to. So don't go through that next one, go through the 3rd, and that will span across 3 bugle beads, just like that. And then you can go up through that 2nd bugle bead. And from there you can go around the wire guard again. So I'm actually going to go through that side. I'm going to go down through the wire guard and the 1st bugle again. And I'm going to reinforce this one more time, going up through the 2nd bugle and going back around the wire guard and coming out through the 1st bugle. Make sure your thread sits in the groove of that. If you aren't working with wire guards, you can just make yourself a loop of seed beads right there. That's what your clasp and your jump rings are going to attach to. So now's the best part, in my opinion. This is where we see that ribbon bracelet really take shape. You can see I'm coming out of the 1st bugle bead, and I have turned my strip of bugles and folded it gently just like that, kind of diagonally over that little section of unembellished bugles. I also have my 2 colors of Miyuki Delica beads in a silver and a gray, and I will be alternating those in the background of this bugle strip. We're going to start out by picking up 2 of those seed beads in whichever color you want to be going down the center, and you want to go down the 4th plain bugle bead in that next blank section. So when you pull the needle, it's going to start the process of bringing this end and gently folding it over this strip. Now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go up through the bugle bead directly to the left of that, coming out of the bugle next to where we just added those 2 delicas. And we're going to be putting 1 delica on the other side of that. It's a little bit easier for me to put my needle through that section and go up that way. And now I'm going to pick up 1 delica in my alternate color. And this time I'm going to go up the 2nd bugle bead up there by the wire guard. And pull that. And again, it's just starting to bring this together and it will tighten up. An important tip is don't force any of these beads or pull too hard, because the last thing you want to do at this point is crack a bead. Now go down through the 3rd bugle bead up there by the wire guard and pull. And then you want to be going down through the plain bugle bead next to the one where you just added the one. And again, it's easier for me if I just tuck my needle back there and turn my work. And now I can see this better, and I'm gonna go down through the bugle bead right there next to that single Delica. So you should have something like that. And again, don't worry if this isn't quite as tight as you'd like it yet, it's going to tighten up. All right, so you can see we're coming out of the bottom of that bugle bead, and I'm gonna go up through the one right next to it. We're just following our thread path to get over to the section or the bugle bead with the two Delicas above it. And we're gonna go down that next bugle bead, which is exactly where we wanna be to start our next section. So come out of the bugle bead, which has the two Delicas on the top. And at this point, you can start folding your work in the other direction, kind of like that. And we're gonna continue on with this process. We're gonna pick up 2 of our Delica beads, and we're gonna find that 4th plain bugle in this next section. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's number 4, going down through that bugle and just gently getting our work to start turning so that we have a fold beginning in this direction that's starting to get tacked down. Now go up the bugle bead directly to the right of that. And just like we did before, pick up 1 in your alternate color. I'm going to turn this around so it's easier to see, and head up the bugle bead on the row above, popping that Delica into place right next to the other 2. And I'm coming up and out right there next to the 2 Delicas on the left. Gonna go down through the next bugle, directly next to that, tuck my needle through that opening because it's easier for me to get to this bugle from that direction. And then I'm gonna go down through the bugle right there on our next row, coming out right here next to the 2 that have the Delicas on top. And now I'm going to follow my thread path by going up the next bugle. I'm going to turn it around to be easier to see. Down through the next bugle and up through the next one. And this time you see we have a larger gap here. So we're going to be picking up 3 Delicas, and we're going to increase that by 1 in each of these rows. Since I used the silver right here, I'm going to go with the gray and pick up 3 of those. And going up through that next bugle bead. So there we go. We've got those 3 strips into place. Now I'll just go down through the next bugle bead. And this time you'll pick up 4 Delicas in your alternate color. So I'm going to pick up 4 silver, and I'm going to go down the next bugle bead and up through the next one. This time I'm going to pick up 5 gray Delica beads, and I'm going to head up the next bugle bead. There you go. So you see we're just filling in these strips, which also holds the bugle beads in this ribbon pattern. Now I'm going down the next bugle, and we're going to finish this section by picking up 6 Delicas in our other color. And then go down through the next bugle bead, making sure you don't go through the charlottes at the same time. And you'll pull that, and you can see how the bracelet is starting to take shape. So the next step is to start to fold another section, and you're going to fill this section in the exact same way. It's just on the other side. So I'm currently coming out of this bugle right here where that charlotte starts. I'm going to go up through the next one, down through the next, up through the next bugle, and down through this one, which happens to be the one that has the 2 delicas. And this is going to be our center strip all the way down, and each of those all the way down, no matter what side, are gonna have 2 delicas. And we're gonna make everything a mirror image of that. So once again, we wanna pick up 2 delicas in the same color that we have in that center section with the 2, and we're going to go down through bugle bead number 4 and start to pull that together. I'm gonna go up the bugle on the right and turn it around so it's easier to see. Picking up 1 gray delica and going up that next bugle bead, then going down through the 1 to the right of that. I'm gonna flip it over so it's easier to see. And this time we want to go just directly down through this bugle, and I need to tuck my needle back in there to make that easier. And I'm going right down through that one and pull. So we're done with that side. Now we can do this wider side by following our thread path just like we did before. Going up and down through the strip of beads till we get to the next blank space, which is where we will then add 3 delicas in our alternate color. So picking up 3 of those and going up that next bugle and popping those into place, then going down the next bugle, picking up 4 delicas in the other color and going down through the next bugle. Now we go up the next one, pick up 5 in our alternate color, and go up through the next bugle bead. And then finally for this section, we'll go down the one next to that, which is where these Charlottes start. And finally, we'll pop 6 right on that side. So we'll just go down that next bugle, making sure you're not going through the Charlottes, and pop that little group of 6 delicas into place on that side. And this is exactly what you're gonna do all the way down the bracelet. Next, we would fold this section over and start to bead in the same manner where you'd be filling in this gap on the right-hand side. So do that all the way down your bracelet, and then we will meet back to finish up our piece. All right, everyone, welcome back. I hope your bracelet is turning out fabulously as well. And we are at the home stretch. So I have a bit of thread coming out of this bugle bead right over here, and I am ready to attach the final wire guard on this side. So I'm just gonna pick this up and slide that wire guard down to my work. And just like we did on the other side, we're gonna go around the wire guard through that other side, and we're gonna go through the first bugle bead there. So it's just gonna span 3 bugle beads on this other end, and it's gonna match the other side. I'm gonna go up through this second bugle bead, and then go around the wire guard again, going down that first one, just like that. And it's up to you if you'd like to go through a couple of those delicas or seed beads you have right there underneath. You can do that as well, and you can go around your wire guard again if you'd like, just to give it even more reinforcement. I'm gonna head up this way, through that first bugle again, and through the wire guard and around the other side, and end by going down through the third bugle and on down, and that's where I'm going to start making several half hitch knots such as this one right here, and then I'll go through some more beads and make another one until I have approximately 3 knots, and then I will cut off my remaining thread. All right, so there we have it. Clip that off, and I have my 2 sides of my clasp with a jump ring attached to each side. So I'm going to open this one up and put on this side, twist it closed, and attach our other side. And there we have it, the complete ribbon bugle bead bracelet, all said and done. And like I said, if you don't have Delicas or if you don't have Charlottes, you can still make this. Just use some 15-0 seed beads in place of the Charlottes, or even 11-0 seed beads, and use 11-0 seed beads in place of these beads here, or if you only had 15-0s, you could use more of them. So you can adapt this to what you have and still get the same effect. The main thing is that you need the bugle beads, because those are what are making that big ribbon impact. Here's a look at the bracelet on my wrist so you can get an idea of what that looks like actually on. As a reminder, I will leave the links and the full materials list right down below the video so you can find out exactly what you need and links to where you can find the specific materials. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. Let me know how you did with this bracelet, or if you plan to give it a try, or anything else you'd like to say. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you will give it a big thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that, and I'd love to have you back for more videos just like this one, so please hit that subscribe button while you're there as well. Also down below the video, you can find links to my social media handles so you can follow along with me on those sites as well. A huge thank you to you for being with me today. I will be back again real soon. In the meantime, I hope you guys are staying healthy and safe. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and as always, happy beading.